Hello, avid readers, book nerds, or casual observers. Welcome to the Read Along, brought to you by the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and this is our read along of the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Welcome to week 3, or part 3.
Well, same thing.
Whatever you say.
Same thing. Part 3, week 3.
For the 5th season.
Yeah. Today we're talking about the interlude through chapters 11. You know what, you guys? This book, we're going to sound like a broken record. Because I think every week we're going to say, that was a lot. That was a lot.
You know what? It was a lot, though. And you should say it.
Who do we want to start with?
Let's start with... oh, there we go. I was trying to find out where the interlude started. Let's start with the interlude.
I don't remember the interlude being particularly...
yeah,
memorable,
it was very...
I guess.
It was kind of a really meta interlude, like where the narrator was kind of talking to us about things that the people that live in the stillness should notice but don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of good world building of just like, yeah, they don't really think about celestial bodies or planets, because they're always looking down at the ground they're standing on, never out to the stars to look at other things.
Yeah.
And they talk about, I mean, the obelisks exist.
Right. So are the obelisks just things that are floating in the air?
Yeah.
Weird.
They're just these weird floating structures that people just acknowledge as being there.
And kind of ignore, for the most part.
Yeah. And it says, likewise, no one speaks of celestial objects, though the skies are as crowded and busy here as anywhere else in the universe. This is largely because so much of the people's attention is directed towards the ground, not the sky. They notice what's there. Stars and the sun and occasional comets or falling stars. They don't notice what's missing. But then how can they? Who misses what they have never, ever even imagined? That would not be human nature. How fortunate, then, that there are more than people in this world than just humankind.
Ooh. Ooh. I wish I remembered that before you read it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, N.K.
You're
Jemisin,
fine.
that I didn't log that.
Fascinating.
Very fascinating.
The implications.
So that makes me want to talk about the second person character first, because
Okay.
the little boy is very special.
I think we can safely classify him as a member of the non-humankind variety.
For sure. One of my favorite moments is when she sees him like messing with something in his bag and he puts something in his mouth, but she suspects it's a rock. Like you can tell she thinks he's eating rocks, and then he crunches it and swallows it. And she's like, that was weird. This kid is weird. This kid is eating rocks.
Must have been a cracker or something.
But he doesn't eat anything that she ever gives him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to ever sleep.
He craves that mineral.
That's funny. That's a perfect callback. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Man, I haven't thought about that in forever.
Me neither. That's really funny.
Crave that mineral.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a stone eater.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. They also ran into the comless woman. So that was interesting. So she's like off the radar.
And she's like smart.
She's very smart.
She kind of, I feel like in my head, she's one of those doomsday preppers at this point.
Absolutely.
Like, she's a doomsday prepper who knows a lot about like the seasons that happen, and she like knows how to like survive. That's why she knows to put this root in the water to purify it of like toxins, and not only the things that would kill you today, also things that would kill you like a year from now.
Right, because she talked about how, okay, so we haven't really talked about this, the safe that Syenite and Alabaster drink fairly often. But it's like a kind of tea, sort of, that is made with this root, and it can't be poisoned.
Yeah.
But she tells us that, yes, it can. You are just not going to know about it until a month later. This lady, this calmless lady. But the root she's using is like the purer form of that before it's been alternated. I'm having a hard time with words today. That was a combination of unadulterated and alternated combined. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Unadulterated.
Unadulterated of this root. So she's like
Yeah.
purifying her water essentially. And I wish I have such a hard time thinking of what the character's name is because she just is us.
Essun?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Essun has this thought that this woman is a gemist. Is that what she said, or a gemologist, or?
Yeah. Basically, I forget the word exactly, but basically, it's like someone who knows about the earth, like someone who studies the earth.
Right. Which the commonest woman is kind of offended by. She's like, she doesn't want to be labeled. I think is what her deal is.
Yeah. She's like, I know more than those stupid college professors. Like, she's such like a redneck, like, self-taught.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. In the audiobook, she has a southern accent.
Yeah, she does. It's great.
Yeah. I love it a lot.
Yeah. And she reveals that the reason she has all these packs and everything that she's going through is because this creature had killed a bunch of other people. And so she basically raided their bodies and now she's taking what she needs.
Yeah. Scavenger.
Which works out for Essun and Hoa because she's got these boy pants that she doesn't need. So, and they will fit Hoa. And there's some other things that she discards that Essun decides will be. I don't know. I think Essun is throwing me off. Is it Essun?
Yeah.
It's throwing me off because in German that means to eat, and so I'm having a hard time with that word specifically. So apologies, but so that works out that she's able to like provide some things for them and also let them know that there's like something shady happening in this area, which really leads to like the big moment of this chapter of the Essun chapter.
Yeah. There's not an appendix of names. It's other super fascinating things, like all of the different seasons that have happened, and I'm going to have to, like, look into that.
Okay. We did learn.
A fifth season. Okay. A fifth season is just an extended winter lasting at least 6 months per imperial designation, triggered by seismic activity or other large-scale environmental alteration. So, that's just what it's called.
Okay.
Because there's 4 seasons, so it's the fifth season. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. But there's all these seasons that are listed in here. The choking season, the acid season, the boiling season, the breathless season, the season of teeth.
We learned a little bit about the fungus season.
Indeed, the fungus season. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a bunch of them in here, and that's really creepy, and I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Did you figure out if it's Essun?
I'm fascinated. Oh, no, because there wasn't a list of names in the back. But
I think if you go to chapter 1, I think it's in there.
Yes, I believe it does say in 1. I just need to get through. Essun, yes. Essun.
Okay. Yeah, it's throwing me off because Essun, Essen.
Yeah, it's German.
It's German. Anyway, sorry, guys.
Side note.
So, okay. So then there's like this giant creature that's described as being like a giant squirrel.
Yeah, or like a seal or something. Like I imagine this, I almost imagine it as like a big mongoose. like.
Interesting.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Floppy.
No, I was for sure picturing a giant squirrel.
I mean, I like that too.
With like angry eyes.
Yeah. Like the rabbit from Monty Python.
Yeah.
But a squirrel.
Only big. And Hoa turns it into crystal.
It goes to bite him, and then it just kind of shudders and shivers and shakes, and then it's just like swing.
Yeah,
crystal.
He sticks his arm in its mouth, and Essun is like, "What the heck? This kid is an idiot. This kid is so dumb. What is it doing?"
Carcusa.
The Carcusa turns into.
That's what it's called.
Crystal.
Oh, they call it an overgrown squirrel.
Oh, that's what I was picturing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. And then Hoa said something really interesting about not wanting Essun to see this yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is Hoa?
I think he's old. I think
I
he's
think
way older
he's
than he lets
not
on.
a kid at all. I think he's ancient.
No. I think he's a stone eater that's taking the form of a small child.
Yeah.
To like, I think maybe he knows what happened to Essen's kid, and he knows that, they know, that this is the best way to kind of like manipulate her into trusting him because
For
she
sure.
just lost her son.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. The likelihood that she's going to be sympathetic to a little boy is incredibly high.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her that he knows where her daughter is. He can sense her.
Yep. Quick, the reason why I thought mongoose is because they're also described as being long-bodied.
Oh.
So that's why my head went.
Mongoose.
Or like, no, maybe I'm thinking ferret, like a big ferret.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Because I think a mongoose is a bird, and I was just going to go with whatever you were.
No, a mongoose... A mongoose is not a bird, but it has the word goose in it, so I understand. A mongoose is like one of those little furry things that like they fight snakes.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
That's a dumb name
they look
for
really
that.
friendly.
That's a dumb name for that critter.
They kill cobras.
They do
They're pretty
look
cool.
a lot like ferrets. They're like related to
Yeah.
meerkats. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Okay. I was definitely thinking mongoose because of goose. And
Yeah, for sure.
mongraves.
I would like to submit a petition to change the name of a platypus to a mongoose because that would make a lot more
I
sense.
completely agree.
Because it has a bill, you know?
And mangrove, I guess, is what I was thinking of. Because mangroves are... Okay, so I was thinking that a mongoose lives in a mangrove. Because mon and mon. And a bird would live in the water with trees.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my apologies. This has been a small lesson in the animal kingdom.
So, a big squirrel, a big mongoose, a big ferret, it's something like that. But it was creepy how apparently it was domesticated, and the reason why these creatures are so cheap to domesticate and have as pets is because like they're super friendly and all they eat is like leaves until they inhale too much ash and it like triggers something in them and they change into this carnivorous, ravenous thing.
Which is fascinating because
it's like
what else can be triggered by inhaling too much ash?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool like evolutionary quirk that the author gave these creatures where like if it's a season, the plants are about to not exist anymore. So how do things survive? Well, they have this weird like internal programming of, oh, they know that it's a season now and then suddenly they're carnivorous. Like that is such an interesting world building aspect of it. Mm-hmm. She thought of everything.
She did.
So, yeah. All of the herbivores, all the herbivores suddenly turning into man-eating monsters is a terrifying aspect.
Yeah.
So,
I also kind of love that Essun is collecting random people.
Yeah.
Because she's definitely pulling the commonless woman with her. Do we have a name for her yet?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember.
I don't think we do. I think she just refers to her as the commonless woman.
I wanted to say crack, but that's Damia's chapter.
That's Damia's chapter.
Oh, snap.
Appropriate name for that character for sure. But Hoa, yeah. So now Essun has Hoa and the commonless woman, and she's kind of dragging them along.
Yeah, we're assembling our ragtag group.
We are.
I love it
for sure.
Love it.
Well, since you mentioned crack, do you want to go to Damia's chapter next?
Sure.
And we can end with Syenite
and Alabaster. Yeah. So
we've hit
Damaya.
we've hit like evil Hogwarts.
For sure.
Like
evil Hogwarts is accurate.
Hogwarts.
Oh man. There's all these kids and they're all from these different places. They're all banged up and they've all got all these different like
Traumas.
quirks and scars and like there's a kid with no arm, there's a kid with burn scars. there's so much stuff going on with these kids. One of them even came in with a brace on their hand because their hand got busted too by their guardian, presumably.
Yeah, and Damia has decided that she is going to be the most goodiest two shoes she can be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just her way of trying to survive.
Absolutely.
Survival
mode.
mode.
That is not a criticism from me.
Yeah.
Because I feel that. I resonate with that. Because I was also the kid that did not want to rock the boat at all and just be quiet and get their stuff done. So that's kind of the role that Damia has taken on, but she still gets picked on a lot, which is frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Specifically, I thought it was funny when the boy sat down next to her and like again had that really meta interaction with her about this is what happens in these stories. I'll sit down, I'll interact with you, it'll make all the other girls jealous, they'll bully you a little bit, you'll discover you don't need no man and you're a strong independent woman, and he like went through the entire trope. I loved that so much. That was really funny.
It was pretty good. I'm curious to see how he comes back in later chapters.
Yeah, if he comes back, I guess we'll find out.
Well, he doesn't get... Okay, there are some characters by the end of this chapter that, like, disappear. I don't think they're coming back.
No, they got iced for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as like a slang... Well, I am saying that as a slang for killed because that's literally what they call it in the book. Like the origin people ice you and they kill you. If you... That's their version of expulsion. You just die.
Yeah. So she befriends Crack, because Crack also kind of keeps to herself. I can't remember what her actual name is. As a response,
she befriends Crack in response to the bullying that's happening to her, because they get punished if they don't, like, take care of themselves and if they're not up to dress code.
I mean, they're basically in prison, but they're calling it a school, which is why I said evil Hogwarts.
Yeah.
But they're basically inmates. It's like,
maybe this is what boarding school is actually like, and we just never knew because we never went.
I mean, I think that's probably true, but I don't think boarding school you run the risk of being murdered.
Certainly not by the staff.
Certainly not by the staff.
At least, in a perfect world. Right.
This is excluding like the genocide that has happened to Native American communities. So my apologies for not considering that before opening my mouth. Anyway,
kids in boarding school shouldn't have to worry about the faculty killing them, but they for sure do here, and it's like out in the open and acknowledged that the faculty will murder you if you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Or if you don't perform well enough. Because they'd rather you be dead than they have a rogue, unstable origin person. So
so in response to the bullying, she befriends Crack. They kind of come up with this plan to try and figure out who the bully is, and not shocking, really, Crack is the real bully.
Yeah, she's the mastermind behind everyone's problems, basically.
And she like there were some very disturbing things in this chapter for some of the kids, and I just don't like that. I understand what the mechanism is in the story, but it makes my tummy hurt.
Same. That was not fun. It was... Again, man, this book pulls no punches at all. It's like... I also just... I still respect it, though, for, like, calling it out and acknowledging that these things happen.
For sure.
In this world, and that they happen in real life, too.
Right.
And it's tragic. But, yeah, Crack reveals some things about some of the other kids that... like, things that they did for, like, one of the... Jasper, like, to get letters from his mom. Like... Basically, there was like sexual favors that were exchanged in order for him to get letters for his mom his mom.
Oh my gosh, it made me so angry because it's an adult and a kid, right? And she's blaming the kid. She's saying this was you did this.
She accuses him of liking it.
Yeah.
And it was a very traumatic
It was.
moment
And he's
in the book.
sobbing, rightfully so, and it's just, ugh. And then both Crack and Jasper disappear.
And the other guy. The three of them
He does.
get
You're right.
carted off. Jasper gets sent away to another school.
Mm-hmm.
Did he though?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I hope he did.
Is that like when your parents say that your dog went to the farm?
Yeah, I don't know.
But if they're being honest and he went to another school, that's probably good because I think, when something like that gets out about you, that's hard to like
Well, and also
salvage
remove you from your abuser too, which I don't think that they probably thought
Exactly.
of it that way, which is also super annoying. But
the other guy came back with, he got beat pretty good, but then Crack, never saw Crack again.
yeah.
So all that to just kind of show what kind of a system is in place with these kids in the crucibles and all these different classes they're taking. Like, yeah, they're learning their stuff, but it's literally like learning at gunpoint. Like, you're going to learn this and you're going to get good at it and you're going to learn to control it or you die. So, have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not Hogwarts.
No, not at all.
Maybe it's Hogwarts if Voldemort actually took over.
There you go. Yeah. Maybe.
This is Death Eater Hogwarts.
I don't even know if Death Eater Hogwarts would be this bad. Honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we have Syenite and Alabaster.
Yeah. They finally get to their coastal town. And that was their initial like introduction to the local authority was pretty entertaining, I thought.
Yeah. Alabaster's so snarky.
He is.
I love that guy.
And you
so
don't
sassy.
expect it. It just comes up all of a sudden. You're like, ooh, the burn. The burn.
He's got wit.
He does.
For sure.
So basically a lower class official greets them and he calls it out. And is like, we're here to help you. And they're kind of like the authority figure does not treat them very well. But Alabaster kind of demands some respect. It was a pretty good moment. Highly recommend. If you, I don't know why you're listening to this if you haven't read it yet, but I'm just saying, it's good.
Yeah. I have a fan casting in my head of Alabaster.
Okay.
Give
it to me.
I know his first name is Leslie. I forget his last name. He played Aaron Burr in Hamilton.
Ooh, Odom. Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah. That's who I picture as Alabaster in my head.
Yeah, that's good. That's not who I was picturing, but that's good. I was picturing like I guess I haven't seen this guy in a long time, so I don't know what he actually looks like. And I am drawing a total blank on his name, on his actual name. Childish Gambino. Help me out.
Oh, Donald Glover.
Donald Glover, thank you.
Yeah.
I think Donald Glover could also do a good job. But
sure.
Leslie Odom Jr., like that is good. I'm gonna have to like recast in my brain. I think.
Nice.
Because that's really good.
Glad I could help.
Yeah. Oh, because that grin that he does.
Yeah, that toothy smile that he can whip out. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my fan casting for Alabaster right now.
I don't have one for Syenite. I can't. I have when I think of Syenite, I don't picture anything.
Very vague.
It's very blank.
I picture brunette. That's it.
I don't even picture that.
But yeah,
I don't picture anything.
I don't really have a casting for her.
Someone crabby. Someone who's forever crabby.
Someone crabby.
I'm not judging her. Like, I would also be crabby. To be fair.
Yeah. So anyway, they have a sassy interaction with this official.
Mm-hmm.
There were some interesting world building things where they're talking about metal and how unreliable metal is
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was really interesting because metal will like melt away and rust at the first acid rain
Mm-hmm.
during a season.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, that's so interesting that they trust stone over metal, which is so like opposite to us.
Right.
Like in modern days, like well, in this world, we trust metal over stone because it bends, but it doesn't break like stone does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stone still gets worn away by erosion, like wind and water. So like we treat metal like it's this like the development of metal was like what set us apart from other like species on the planet, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, but they're over here like, metal gates. What is that going to keep out? Pff, amateur hour. Like these gates should be made of stone.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so funny to me. But yeah, it is really interesting.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
But then we get the poisoning.
Yeah. So they get dinner. They end up at a hotel, a nicer hotel, and they get
Yeah.
dinner, and then we have like the worst episode of like we think it's sleep paralysis
Yeah.
for now I'm gonna call him Leslie, Alabaster,
Mm-hmm.
for Alabaster, and we had some really interesting moments where Syenite figures out that the last time he was having a problem, he looked to the sky. So she went and looked at the sky, which points to where you pointed out the celestial bodies being kind of ignored. This is more evidence that those are more important than they realize. But I suspect that Alabaster has figured that out.
I think it's something to do with the obelisks. Because they make a note of like how one of the obelisks is closer than it
Yes.
was before.
And like an amethyst obelisk or something. Like they're very specific about it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does the thing where he like takes over her power again. And it wigs her out. And then he regurgitates yuck,
The poison.
which is
Yeah.
poison. Fascinating.
Yeah.
And she's like so confused by his ability to do this because this should not be possible.
I felt like we were kind of crossing the streams here. I thought the poisonous goop was gonna like turn into a snake and grow 3 heads and like attack everyone.
I've also okay. Thank you. I've also been like, it's funny. There are things about this book that I'm like, oh, this is very similar to this book, and then I have to like remind myself, no, this is not Hank Green's book. No, this is not Judy I. Lynn's book.
Yeah.
And even some like the Hull of Smoke stuff. Like there's even some of that in here where I'm like, no, it's not. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah. Fantasy books, man.
Yeah.
They'll do that to you.
It's true. It's just very funny. I appreciate that you had a similar moment though.
Yeah. I was like, man, we need a Shenong 2 to come in here and
Make
like
some tea.
Yeah. Brew him some tea, man. This guy just needs a good brew.
For real. For facts, man. Yeah, so and then Alabaster explained the magical, which okay, he talked about his description of like farming, and if you have one powerful horse that's great, but if you have two like yoked together, pulling a wagon together, they can be stronger than the one on its own.
Yeah.
Which is like an established thing. And then she goes, oh, he's the yoke. Which doesn't make any sense to me because then who's the other animal? Like if he's the yoke and she's one of the animals, is he the yoke and the animal?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's more to be revealed about the obelisk's role. Maybe the obelisk is the yoke, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But since he's the only one that knows about the obelisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, for sure. We'll see what happens with
And
that.
then she makes him promise to never do it again. We'll see if that
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, yeah, for sure, Syenite. That's never going to happen again. You're right.
Like, I have mixed feelings about this, right? Because obviously he needed her help to accomplish this.
Yeah.
And he utilized her looking at the sky specifically to save himself. But there is like a question of consent, right? And bodily autonomy. Where like he's not giving her the option to say no. He's just taking control. And there's something about that that feels very gross.
Violating.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's not like he, well, at least as far as we know, he's not like taking control of her body.
Right.
But no, for sure, it still feels, especially if I was her, I would feel pretty violated.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable.
Right.
Especially since he just does it and doesn't like. He can't really when he's having a seizure and foaming at the mouth, but the first time. Mm-hmm. So, he's flawed. He's a flawed character.
He for sure is. Oh, I also thought that whole conversation where she's giving him food off of her plate to eat was pretty funny. Because he makes some comment like, "Oh, you like someone with more meat on the bones," and she's just like, "I wouldn't like you no matter what. Like, nothing about you is doing it for me."
Yeah.
Either they're going to become like madly in love. I'm trying to decide if this is enemies to lovers or if we're just in a lovers to, or like enemies to like dead. I don't know what the other end is.
Enemies, like acquaintances with benefits.
It's not really benefits though. Like, I mean, I understand that like that's the arrangement, but it's neither of them want it. It's not really a benefit.
If they could both choose, they would not be sleeping together.
No.
But obligation demands.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me. The fact that the kids, so when Crack is like revealing all this stuff about Jasper and like the other kids, they're already, these poor children are thinking about how their lives, some of them are going to grow up to just be breeders, to have more of them. Yeah. And that is so disgusting.
Yeah, it's gross.
Like, these are children.
Yeah.
They have stolen childhood from these children, which is obvious, right? Like, that is very clearly what is happening. But the fact that that's even in these kids' vocabulary, that they're going to become breeders, just makes me so upset.
Yeah, so in the appendix, a breeder, one of the 7 common use castes. Breeders are individuals selected for their health and a desirable conformation. During a season, they are responsible for the maintenance of healthy bloodlines and the improvement of calm or race by selective measures. Breeders born into the caste who do not meet acceptable community standards may be permitted to bear the use caste of a close relative as at calm naming. So, yes, it's very utilitarian.
Yeah.
We must, like, the human race must survive, so we're going to have an entire group of people whose, like, lives are devoted to just breeding.
Yeah.
Which, that's romantic.
Don't like it. Don't like it at all.
Yeah. It's like, but it's still, like, good storytelling, though, because I don't like it, but I get it.
For sure.
I understand how they came to that conclusion of creating that, like,
it's definitely not a glorification of it either. Like, it's a criticism for sure. And I think that there are instances where that kind of mentality has and does exist in our world. So I think it's a valid criticism. And I think that there are probably children who have that idea baked into them here in our world. Mm-hmm. But it's not said in such an opaque way. So...
yeah, man. Like I said, pulling no punches.
No. No, none at all.
And this is one of the reasons I love the fantasy genre, is because you can still have these deeper meanings and things, and you can still, like, call out the injustices that happen in the world in a creative way in this, like, fantasy setting. And in some ways, I think you can do it more effectively because you're able to explore these different like worlds and like how these different people react in these different like types of universes, and it's just
for sure.
So
For sure, completely agree.
yep. But yeah, so they think that they were trying to poison Alabaster, but I'm not convinced. She gave him a lot of her food, so I'm not convinced that maybe she wasn't the target.
Yeah.
But I feel like that might be a twist that's coming. I mean, why would they want to kill her and not Alabaster? I don't know, but she gave him a lot of her food.
She did, and I think that there's something. I think there's something about her that we don't know yet.
Yep.
So, time will tell.
For sure. But I guess, what's the reading assignment for next time?
So for next time, you're going to read chapters 12 through 15.
Sweet.
We only have 3 more parts to this book.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much halfway there.
Yeah. So, 12 through 15 for next week.
Alrighty. Well, I guess it still holds true. I am disturbed and engaged.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess until next time then, disturbed reading.
We'll talk to you next time.
Later.